Hey, welcome back guys to another video. It's been a while since I did a chess video. Today I'm going to run a video with the Sicilian. I'm going to have two games I'm going to show you. And the first game was things not going really well because of the way I used to play the Sicilian. And then the second time around, I'll show you the new lines I started creating to myself. So this is the Sicilian line. Whenever you do the C5, the Sicilian. General response is this is to E4. So if you watch my streams or my videos, I generally had this situation. So this is general line. So this is all normal doing the Sicilian like this. So this would be like the open Sicilian or the old Sicilian variation. So the idea is you want to go here to protect the D4 push. And generally speaking, I usually play against that. I usually go here when I'm white as well. So that's nothing too fancy about this opening. Everything seems to be going fine. And this is probably the first mistake I do. So the reason is, this is a mistake. It sort of gives white an edge. So he takes back and you just give him full control of the center. And we wasted tempo, and if you have a look, we do get a certain... The thing about this situation is we do have the queen out early for our opponent, which is probably a bad thing for our opponent, but there's no easy way to attack this. So, you know, like if we go here, you can just take the pawn, and really we go here, it doesn't really open up the bishop. So, you know, if the queen was here, then we could open up with tempo and start attacking the queen, and that would be a terrible thing. But because this has happened, even the knight coming out, it doesn't attack the queen, and then the pawn can come down and attack and really cramp our style. So we open up here, and this is probably a mistake as well. Just thinking about going here with the bishop, which is probably, that's not a bad idea. Okay, so he opens up the bishop with the light squares. If you have a look here, the light squares are pretty weak, so the light square bishop's pretty important at the moment. Okay. So he castles really fast. Generally speaking, a new thing that I've learnt too is if you're way ahead of development before your opponent even castles, and you've just got your pieces out, you want to try and blast open the center, because your opponent will have nothing to fight you against. So definitely try and take the upper hand where you got it. Sometimes you run into people who do cheap tricks and there's no fighting back. This is generally what happens. People just do cheap tricks to get the advantage early, and then they can blast you open, the position open, and you end up losing in early games. So this is why developing in the early games is very important, like the early stages of a game. So he's putting the bishop maybe a little bit too early, but this is actually a decent move. Unfortunately, if he was there, it would be a better move, but he still had this as well. But this is a simple development move, so this is not too bad. Also, we're controlling these squares, so it's very important that we try and stop the bishop, the light square bishop out as well. But the problem is now we actually didn't get our knight out, so our rook doesn't have anywhere to go. Because sometimes in some lines, taking this pawn for the queen can be really bad, and you can actually trap the queen, and that's a skill I still have to learn myself. But I'm getting very close to learning it. Okay, so I did something different here. So I went to attack the rook. I went to defend the rook with the queen and went for an early sacrifice. Whenever you're down in material, so even a pawn, you want to avoid trades as well. So, but this is like the best I could do for this emergency. So there was countermeasures. So I had to be, you know, things to be paid out. So he comes down, defends here. Okay, this is pretty interesting now. So now I'm defending here, and white definitely in charge here. And there's actually a mate in one here. Just have a look here. So going here is a mistake and is a blunder. And if you have a look at white's position, can you see the mate in one? Alright, so I'm giving you a bit of time. This will be the mate in one. Not sure if my opponent's seen this. It's been a while since I've played this game. So I've actually seen it, and that's how early it was. So that's what happens when you don't open the position. So, you know, you should have the knight out generally speaking, if the bishop comes out, you should have your knight out as well. So the knight controls these squares. And also, I'll discuss more in the next game why I do a certain move. And you'll definitely remember this position here. And, you know, there's no... If I have the knight here, he can just come right down. So, anyway, I'm going to show you the second game. Okay. So, the second game I played with 92% accuracy. So, it was a little bit better. And no blunders, hopefully. Alright, so this is a Sicilian again. This time, this isn't really... This is not a mistake. The same as this. Also, if he doesn't open with the bishop, the knight, and he goes down with the bishop, you can actually go here and charge here and get a real fast tempo and really just get a bit of momentum, especially if the bishop's here. And you can go here and then go here, and there's not much you can do. You can take here, queens defend the pawn, and the bishop has to move. And generally speaking, probably goes here, then we can move the knight. There's no worries, we shut down the light squares, and we cover the weakness. But if you have a look at the Sicilian early on, definitely the light square bishop for white is definitely one of the stronger pieces, and it's probably the first thing I started fearing in the Sicilian because of my weakness. I never used to... You got to learn what your weaknesses are in the game, and definitely light square bishop was the big highlight for me and the big learning curve. Okay, so this opponent didn't really know how to use the light square bishop really. He could have come down here, but we could have just moved here, went for a trade. Happy to go for a trade as well. Sicilian as well is known for its sharp tactics, and it's pretty involved game, so it's got a lot of theory. So if you're going to do a Sicilian, you're never going to have... there's so many different ways to play it. You know, the nine dwarf's pretty good as well, like very solid, playing GM level. But probably best to stick with the classical variations in the old style, even the closed, just to begin with. Okay, so the idea, this was actually a bad move for me. It's just a wasted move, so... But with the temp, it's the best move though. But at the same time, and hold on a sec. At the same time though, the Sicilian generally has a lot of pawn moves at the beginning as well. So the nine dwarf normally generally looks like this as well, but there's no usually pawn there, and the knight's usually here. So the knights will be on... Actually, two knights should be here with the bishop, and the pawn will probably be disappeared. This pawn's disappeared. Knight there, and that's the knight off without this pawn as well, because it's traded off. And you get the open C file. So generally speaking, when you go for the Sicilian, depending on what variation you play, usually you're going... This is why you trade this pawn, because you want the open C file. And then you attack, obviously, the semi-open file with your rook. But yeah, you've got to learn how to put your pieces where they belong. So he moves his pieces out. Pretty passive, but still alright. But it probably didn't go down here because there's no pin. So if I went up here, then he had a pin. But there's really nowhere to exploit. Now I put the bishop on one of the better squares. But thinking about it now, you start learning as you keep playing. And this could not be the best square generally, because you want to find the most active square. And this square to me looks like it's the most active. So even on the better game now that I'm looking at, I could still improve. And that's definitely it. So you want to look at your more active squares that you can go to. And don't always fianchetto just for the sake of fianchettoing. Like we could trade here, but you don't, for a piece for 2 pawns. Okay, so he moves the knight down, that's fine. Just simple development moves. And now we're going for e5. So one move that I've really started to enjoy in the Sicilian as well is this move. So I usually like e6, but at the moment our opponent's not playing very aggressive, so we get to play e5. So and you sort of look at these lines. Plus I'm a little bit behind with developing because white's already castled and already about to link up the rooks. I've still got two pieces on the back rank and still haven't castled, so I'm fairly behind here. But the idea is you've got to look at the main moves and just see the piece placements. Most variations, the dark square bishop always belongs here. Look how they're lined up with the battery as well. So they're playing like I fianchettoed, like the dragon. If I played the the accelerated dragon, usually you fianchetto the bishop here, and then your eye down here. But we didn't do it this time, and usually they go down here for the trade, and we usually put the rook across here. Then you can have an escape square for the bishop if you really wanted to avoid trades. So he moves his rook across, and we castle. And now he's starting to do a pawn break. So the reason why you do a pawn break is, generally speaking, you want to try and make as much room for your opponent, for your rooks, and start attacking. So if you could ask yourself a few questions of where you want to do pawn breaks, this could be definitely a situation where this might not be the best idea for the pawn break. Definitely his rook's there, but it doesn't lead to anything at the moment. So maybe, be wrong here. So I could go here and avoid it and then keep this closed. And you always got to look. So when the pawn gets pushed here, this square becomes weak and this square becomes weak. So all of a sudden we start looking at, squares that become weaker as you play. And also you think about, in these positions as well, the types of pieces. So there's another thing I've learned as well is, say, this piece here. So it's a type 1 piece. It's hanging, and a sub 2 piece would be this one. But they consider this one hanging as well because the queen makes a terrible defender. So the queen makes a horrible defender because you can pretty much attack the queen and take him off the man he's defending. Okay? Or the piece he's defending, sorry. Alright, so move the knight. And now we're attacking this twice, so that's fine. I think this would have been the better move. Possibly, but if we go here and he trades here, I guess then he's trying to push for here, and then we can just seal it back up. And then we get the open file, semi-open file for our rook. So you can just see how this wasn't the best move. And we could easily move here, trade here, trade here. Goes here, trade here. And just sort of like, you just sort of looking at, if we can get rid of this pawn here, this is the really good looking rook. And this could go in the back rank for the king. But here there's a lot of things stopping this rook from coming down. So looking for the pawn break here is probably not the best. You could possibly look for a pawn break here in the center somewhere if you're white, especially for this rook. Or especially getting your queen and bishop coming across as well. So you get ideas. And maybe sometimes you could move the knight here and create a weakness. And I have to push up. And then they consider this pawn as a hook. So it means that if there's a piece here and we take, this file becomes semi-open file towards the king. And that's like, they consider that an artery to the heart, or to the king. And that can be disastrous in the game. So we're doing trades. Notice we've kept this locked up, so this is all fine for us. We don't want to really open this up. There's no benefit for us opening this file up. It does help him attack our undefended piece. Alright, so he comes down to attack the knight and the bishop. Everything's defended well. So there's no real threat there. And you've got to look in the position as well. So we're defending here. He's attacking here. Defending here. So everyone's quite defended. This piece is also being defended by the queen. But if you start looking along here too, some of the dark squares are starting to become weaker for kingside. Okay, so we take the knight, and he takes us, and now we're up a pawn. So that was a bad move by our opponent, and now we're defending the line twice here, and here. Ooh. And if you only consider it once because of the queen. So he pushes down to try to do another pawn break. If we go here, it means he can attack here. So hopefully I didn't take there. So I retreated and defended this piece. So this is probably the best move. It was the best move because we're defending an undefended piece and holding our structure. So he takes. Maybe we can take back. And then we can have a little bit of fun here and then attack the rook. And we can move forward with tempo. And also have the semi-open file. So taking here could be a disaster for white. Because soon after, it looks good. And he comes down here. But after this move, all of a sudden it's a bit of counter play. And we've got this. And what white's trying to do is not going to work. Alright, so he takes. So I didn't go with the plan immediately. So I've maybe done this move a little bit too early. This is defended twice. And we're defending it 3 times. So we went a different order. And also now it's defended. So we can actually just go here and get our semi-open file. So this is even better for us. And we don't lose a pawn for it. Okay, and this is still under threat because we're defending it twice, which is great, and then we're also attacking this as well. So white definitely has to move. So this was probably the move of the game. So what I said about this, and you know, we take here, he takes back. Sometimes you got to look at the move orders of how you do things, and that was definitely there. I'm not sure 100% which orders I do the moves in. But yeah, this is probably a key move in the position here because we're attacking this and attacking here with the momentum. And that's what you want to do, and you want to see these weaknesses. And a lot of times the knights can get these pawns and attack, and you can, well, not these pawns, the knights can attack the defenders, and then you take out their main attackers after you've traded other pieces. You could be up pieces for this as well. Okay. I'll show you a different, yeah, now he's just getting frustrated, so this is just a total blunder. But I didn't take it. Why didn't I take it? Because if I take it, I should have taken that. They didn't consider that as a miss though, or inaccuracy. I did 2 mistakes, so maybe that was a mistake. Maybe this, so this is something I have to work on as well, is tunnel vision. Sometimes you can work on a plan, and I'm really been eyeing down this, trying to get the rook here, trying to blast open. And the thing is, this is all good, and especially when you get your objective, but sometimes you can miss these moves. He's blatantly done a blunder, thinking that this is a typical move, so that they do, but the queen normally sits here and pins the pawn. But the pawn isn't pinned, and the best thing about this move, I can take here, move my king across, and move my rook across, and then I'm eyeing down the king. Alright, so I had tunnel vision, and I just traded. When you're up in material on a trade, but I missed that opportunity of taking his bishop, so that was pretty bad. This bishop's really good here, the most active squares, so this bishop becomes like very powerful. And also you can see in the position here, this pawn is almost dead. So there's no one defending it. And there's a saying that you got to remember is loose pieces drop off. So it means any pieces that don't have defenders, you need to start targeting them, because most tactics work around undefended pieces. So this is all stuff I've been working on in my game, just trying to focus on my weaknesses and my opponent's weaknesses. Okay, I want you to have a look now at the board and tell me what you can see. Can you work out a really nice move? So now look at this. So what's he's done? So now he's attacked our queen. So often now you can, when you look at a position and one of your pieces are being attacked, you've got to ask yourself, can I attack something stronger than the queen? And the question is, if you said no, then you need to rethink, because there is one thing that's stronger than the queen. Only one. The queen is very strong. It's one of the strongest pieces on the board. But if you lose the king, you lose the game. So always remember the king is the most valuable piece on the board. So now if he takes here, and we can take the queen. So he runs away. And now we just got a better move, and we just take the bishop. And this is check as well. And this is the last bit of the game. He resigned here, but it took me a little bit to work out. This is not checkmate, by the way. Like, we're blocking this, and we're attacking the king. Just have a look for a little bit, and just try and work out, how does white get out of checkmate here? And it's not taking the rook. Okay? Anyway, guys, I'm going to tell you, it was simply just this, moving the rook in. It actually took me a while to actually see this move. And then you simply just take, and then it will be checkmate. Alright, guys. Sorry, guys, I haven't been putting in enough videos of chess lately. Definitely got to put the output in, especially got to try and put chess videos on the weekend. So 1 or 2 videos on the weekend. I'm going to do my Twitch streams with chess as well. And then I'm going to do my 2 to 3 Super Coach videos as well on top of that as well. So bear with me. And I am improving as well dramatically in my game. So my bottom level of my game has fixed up. So generally I'd go up to about 1300 and go to about 1100 in ratings. Now I haven't dropped off around 1250. I'm barely underneath now. So definitely getting ready to go up to the 1400 mark. So I reckon within the month I'm going to be about 1400 rating. If you look at the graph, my personal graph as well, and I'll just have a look. Just something to look at. Just this is the graph here. So if you look, I was just dipping. My top part of the game would be really strong. So when everything was going well, coincidences, I'd win games and just luck box a lot of times. And then when I was playing bad, I was playing really bad. And now you can just see the dips are starting to fade up. And this one's a little bit of a dip, but then yeah. So it's just showing the improvements over time. Just playing a lot of games. And yeah, anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.